It was the kind of knock that didn't ask. It demanded. 3 firm raps on the front door, sharp and unmistakable. Sophia Reyes paused mid-step in her kitchen, a steaming cup of tea in her hand, and silk-red robe clinging to her shoulders. The knock came again. She hesitated. It was too early for guests, too quiet for trouble, or so she had hoped. Setting the cup down, she padded barefoot to the door, her long dark hair trailing over her back. With a careful hand, she pulled it open just enough to peek through. A uniform. Police, tall, broad-shouldered, and far too handsome for an ordinary Tuesday morning, Officer Daniel Knox stood there with a polite smile and a clipboard in hand. His eyes scanned her quickly, professionally, but lingered just a second longer than protocol would allow. "Miss Reyes?" he asked, voice even. Sophia's lips curved into something between suspicion and charm. "Yes, officer?" "Sorry to bother you. There was a report made about this unit, something about unusual activity. Mind if I ask you a few questions?" "Unusual activity?" she echoed, one brow lifting. "Define unusual." Daniel chuckled lightly. "That's what I'm here to find out." She opened the door wider, stepping aside. "Then come in, officer. But I warn you, I make a mean cup of jasmine tea and I might talk your ear off." Inside, the apartment was spotless, elegant but lived in. A faint scent of vanilla lingered in the air, and a vinyl record played faint jazz in the background. Daniel stepped in, instinctively scanning the room. "You live alone, Miss Reyes?" "I do. Is that a problem?" she asked playfully. "No, ma'am," he replied, though his eyes didn't miss the second teacup drying in the sink. Sophia noticed the glance. "Had a friend over earlier." She left. Daniel nodded. "Mind if I take a look around?" "Not at all," she said, gesturing with a flourish. "Knock yourself out." As he moved through the apartment, Sophia leaned against the kitchen counter, watching him. There was a quiet confidence in the way he moved. Not intrusive, but observant. Calculated. Like a man who was used to seeing lies tucked into ordinary corners. "You don't strike me as a tea and slippers type," she said. "I'm not. But I am the knock-on-doors at 8 a.m. type." Sophia smiled. "Lucky me." Daniel returned with his clipboard. "Everything looks fine. Mind if I ask where you were last Friday evening?" She tilted her head. "Is this about noise complaints, or are we going deeper?" "There was a robbery. Suspect was last seen near this building." She paused. "I was here, alone, watching reruns and ignoring the world." "No visitors?" "None I can remember," she said evenly, though her eyes flashed. Daniel noted her tone. She was polished, too polished. The kind of woman who had been watched before and learned to control every flicker of her face. "Well," he said, "if anything comes to mind, you can reach me." He handed her a card. She took it slowly, brushing his fingers by accident. "Thanks, Officer Knox." Their eyes met. Something passed between them, unspoken but electric. As Daniel turned to leave, he hesitated at the door. "Stay safe, Miss Reyes." Sophia watched the door close behind him. She didn't exhale until a full minute later. That knock hadn't just interrupted her morning. It had awakened a past she thought was buried, and a future she hadn't dared to imagine. Daniel Knox couldn't shake her face from his mind. Sophia Reyes. Sharp eyes, poised voice, charm that felt too intentional. She'd played it cool, but his gut told him there was more. Back at the precinct, he combed through his notes. The report that had sent him knocking came from a tip line. Anonymous, vague, and oddly specific all at once. A woman matching Sophia's description had been spotted meeting with a known fence, someone who dealt in stolen goods and had cartel ties. Yet nothing in her apartment screamed criminal. No signs of stolen merchandise, no evidence of deceit, just jasmine tea and a dangerous smile. "Knox," his partner, Officer Delaney, called over the partition. "You're still on that Reyes tip?" "Something's off," Daniel muttered. "You think she's dirty?" He leaned back in his chair. "I think she's hiding something. Not sure if it's the kind of something that's my business. but it feels like it should be. Later that evening, Sophia stood by her window, sipping from her teacup as the sun set. Her phone vibrated. A blocked number she answered without a word. "You had a visitor," the voice said. "Male. Cold. Unfamiliar." She didn't respond. "We told you no attention. You've gotten sloppy, Sophia." Her throat tightened. "It was a routine check. I handled it. No such thing as routine for people like us." Click. She stared at the phone. Her fingers trembled. The next day, Daniel returned to her building, not in uniform. This time he wore jeans and a leather jacket, hoping a civilian look would ease her guard. He knocked once. The door opened almost immediately. Sophia blinked, surprised. "Detective Knox? Back so soon?" "Officer," he corrected, stepping inside when she motioned. "I'm off duty. Should I be flattered or worried? That depends. Did I interrupt another tea ceremony?" She gave a half smile. "I'm starting to think you have a thing for herbal infusions." He stayed silent for a beat. "Look, I came back because something's not adding up." Sophia's demeanor shifted. "I told you I was home alone. It's not just about that anymore. The person in the report said you were seen speaking with Antonio Vega 2 weeks ago." Her eyes didn't flinch, but her grip on the cup tightened. "Never heard of him. Vega is tied to an arms deal gone wrong. 4 dead in El Paso." "That has nothing to do with me." He studied her. "You ever been to El Paso?" She tilted her head. "You sound less like a cop and more like a man trying to justify his suspicion." "Maybe I am," he admitted. She took a breath and set her tea down. "Okay, Officer Knox, you want the truth? I'm not who you think I am, but I'm not who they think I am either." He straightened. "What does that mean?" "It means I had a life before this one. A life I ran from. One I was told was over." She looked toward the door. "And if someone's asking questions, now, then maybe it isn't." Daniel's instincts flared. "Are you saying you're in witness protection?" She gave him a long, level look. "I'm saying I trusted the wrong people once, and they almost killed me. So if I'm cautious, if I hesitate, it's not guilt, it's survival." The room fell quiet. Finally, Daniel exhaled. "If that's true, you're in more danger than I thought." "I've always been in danger," she said softly. "Danger is the price you pay for disappearing." Daniel stepped closer. "If you're telling the truth, someone on our side may have sold you out." She didn't answer, but for the first time since they met, her mask cracked. Vulnerability flickered in her eyes. "I can help you," he said. Sophia looked at him. "Or you could turn me in." "I won't." "Why?" He didn't have an answer that made sense, not to the department, not to the law, but he said it anyway. "Because that knock changed everything." Daniel didn't go to work the next morning. Instead, he parked 3 blocks from Sophia's apartment and sat in his car, staring blankly at the dashboard. The rules said he should report her. His gut told him to protect her. And something deeper, something unspoken, had begun to root in him since the moment she opened that door. When he finally walked up to her place again, he knocked softer this time. The door opened. No robe today. Sophia wore jeans and a plain white shirt, her hair pulled back in a loose braid, simpler, less performative, more real. She stepped aside wordlessly. He entered. "You said you're not who I think you are," Daniel began. "Then tell me who you are." Sophia sat on the edge of her couch and exhaled. "My real name is Isabel Mendez. Sophia Reyes was created for me by the marshals 3 years ago. I was the key witness in a federal investigation against the Valdez cartel in New Mexico. I didn't plan to testify, I just wanted out." Daniel stayed silent, letting her speak. "They killed my brother. He worked for them. I didn't even know until it was too late. When I found out what he was involved in, I went to the feds. I thought they'd protect me, but even inside their system, people talk. Word got out. I survived 2 attempts on my life during trial. She looked up. The deal was, testify, disappear, and never look back. Daniel's jaw tightened. You think someone inside leaked your new identity? I know they did. Last week I got a burner message, coordinates to a motel. I went. No one was there, but someone left a newspaper on the nightstand. My name, my address, circled in red ink. Jesus, he muttered. Why didn't you tell the marshals? She laughed bitterly. Trust went out the window when they stopped returning my calls. Daniel ran a hand down his face. So now what? She hesitated, then looked him square in the eye. That depends on you. They sat in silence. Finally, Daniel said, I need to see the motel. I need to know you're not just scared, you're right. She nodded. That night they drove together, Daniel behind the wheel. Sophia sat beside him, silent except for giving directions. The motel was a rundown place on the outskirts of town, where streetlights flickered like dying stars and the air tasted like rust. Room 203. Daniel kicked the door open with his badge ready, though he wasn't sure what good it would do out here. Nothing moved. The room smelled of bleach and dust. Then he saw it. On the nightstand, a folded newspaper. Local edition. The headline irrelevant, but on the front page her face was printed. A photo from her old life, circled in red, and a word written below. In blocky letters, found. Daniel stared at it. This is a threat. Sophia stood beside him, arms crossed tightly. It's a warning. You can't stay at your apartment, he said. You can't stay in this city. I know. Daniel turned toward her. I can help you get out. I don't need a hero. No, he said softly. But you might need a friend. And I don't walk away from people like you. She looked at him, long, hard, eyes scanning, for deception. But there was none. You don't even know me, she whispered. I know enough, he replied. I know your past doesn't scare me, but the people coming for you, they should be scared of what I'll do if they try. Her breath caught. For the first time in a long time, Sophia believed someone meant those words. Hay didn't go back to her apartment. Daniel drove them to a motel under a false name. Something off-grid, cash only. The kind of place where no one asked questions and no one gave answers. It was nearly 3 a.m. The city outside was asleep. Inside room 107, Daniel sat on the edge of the bed with his service weapon on the nightstand. Phone, dismantled and eyes alert. Sophia paced the floor, barefoot and restless. You trust anyone in your department? She asked. He paused. 2 people, maybe. Then one of them might be the leak. He hated that she was right. The moment he'd chosen to protect her, he'd also chosen to stand against the very system he swore to uphold. Now every call he made, every movement he took had to be calculated, because one wrong step could expose them both. Sophia sat across from him on the second bed. When I was Isabel, I believed in justice, that people in uniforms meant safety. But I learned the hard way. Corruption doesn't wear a face. It hides behind the cleanest ones. Daniel leaned forward. I'm not clean, but I'm trying to be better. Sophia looked at him. That's the only reason I haven't run. The next morning, Daniel called his partner Delaney using a burner. I need a favor, Daniel said. You sound off, Delaney replied. That's because I'm doing something crazy. I need the surveillance feed from a warehouse off Granger Avenue. It's off-grid, but I think it was used as a drop by someone on the inside. Why? Just trust me. There was a pause. Give me a few hours, Delaney said, then hung up. By evening, Daniel had the footage on a flash drive. He and Sophia watched from the motel's dusty TV. The footage showed grainy black and white clips of cars pulling in and out of the warehouse. Nothing unusual, until one paused under the camera light. The driver stepped out, face partially obscured. Sophia froze. That's him, she said. That's the guy who used to run messages for Valdez. I saw him in court 3 years ago. Daniel squinted. Then his heart sank. The man wasn't alone. Behind him stepped another figure, one Daniel recognized. Immediately, Captain Andrews, his own superior officer. Daniel shot up from the bed. "No," he muttered. "No, it can't be." "Your captain?" Sophia asked. He nodded slowly. He was one of the agents assigned to monitor witness relocation cases. He had full access to your file. Sophia's voice went hollow. "He's the leak." Everything shifted in an instant. Daniel's department, his badge, his job, all compromised. "They're going to come for you," Sophia whispered. "And now they'll come for you too." Hours later, the motel lights cut out. Sophia and Daniel jolted awake. A car idled outside. He grabbed his gun, motioning for her to move back. Quietly, he crept to the window and peeled the curtain just an inch. Two men stood outside. Tactical gear, earpieces. Not cops, mercenaries. Sophia's breath trembled. "They found us." Daniel looked at the bathroom window. "We need to run." They slipped out the back, disappearing into the shadows behind the building. They ran across dirt lots and back alleys, heartbeats thundering. They didn't stop until they hit an abandoned rail yard, breathless, both ducked behind a rusted container. Sophia clutched his arm. "They won't stop." Daniel looked at her. "Then we don't stop either." His voice was steel now. "They tried to bury you. They tried to use me. We turned the tables." She blinked. "How?" "We exposed them. Every name. Every dirty badge. We hit back." Sophia stared at him, a fire igniting in her chest. Maybe it had started with a knock, but now they were knocking back. Daniel and Sophia lay low in the rail yard until morning broke through the gray sky. Neither of them had slept. The tension hung heavy, like storm air before lightning strikes. "We can't go to internal affairs," Daniel said. "And the marshals won't help. Andrews probably has someone on the inside there too." Sophia was staring at the ground, picking at a jagged stone between her fingers. "So who do we trust?" He paused. "Journalists." She looked up. "Real ones," he added. "The kind who don't flinch when things get dangerous." Daniel pulled out a contact card from his wallet, creased, worn at the corners. "Maya Green, investigative reporter. She's been trying to bust this corruption story for years. She'll believe us." "Will she protect us?" Sophia asked. "No, but she'll make sure the truth is too loud to ignore." They met Maya in a quiet cafe on the outskirts of town. She looked tired, like someone who'd spent more nights in parking lots than in beds. But her eyes were sharp. "You look like hell," she said to Daniel, sipping her black coffee. "Thanks for meeting us. You said it was big. Better be." Daniel placed the flash drive on the table. "Warehouse footage, Captain Andrews with known cartel messengers. Proof he's dirty." Maya raised an eyebrow, then glanced at Sophia. "And her?" "I'm the reason they're trying to kill him," Sophia said flatly. 3 years ago, I buried a cartel case in court. Now someone's digging it up." Maya took the drive and slid it into her laptop. As the footage played, her face shifted from skepticism to cold fury. "You were right," she whispered. "They've infected the whole system." Daniel leaned in. "You publish this, and it blows up everything. We need it live. Fast. I can get it out in 24 hours, she said. "But that puts targets on both your backs. Once this hits, they'll know you leaked it." "We're past the point of hiding," Sophia said. Maya looked at them both. "Then we're in." Back at a new safe house, a friend's cabin up north, Daniel and Sophia finally exhaled. The trees stood like sentinels outside, and the silence was thicker than the city's noise. They sat by the fireplace, embers glowing. "You know," Sophia said, "I used to imagine what I'd say to the people who destroyed my life." Daniel looked over. I'd play it over in my head, me standing in front of them, telling them I survived, that I didn't break. "And what would they say?" he asked. She smiled faintly. "Doesn't matter. I didn't imagine them speaking, just running." He chuckled. "That's poetic." "No," she said softly. That's justice. The next morning, Maya's article went live. Betrayed by the Badge, a deep dive into police corruption and cartel ties. The story spread like wildfire. National outlets picked it up. Footage went viral. The city exploded in outrage. Captain Andrews was suspended within hours. But Daniel knew that wouldn't be the end. They came for him that night. 3 men, black SUV, weapons drawn. But Daniel was ready. He'd fortified the cabin, made traps, planned exits. When the first man entered, a blinding flashbang went off. Sophia, hidden behind the kitchen counter, knocked the second off his feet with a fireplace poker. Daniel took down the third with a clean, silent shot to the leg. They tied them up, confiscated their radios, and waited. An hour later, headlights approached. But it wasn't backup for the hitmen. It was the FBI. Wordless, swift, they stormed in and took the attackers into custody. Enrique, agent, approached Daniel. Maya sent us. The story triggered a federal probe. You two just lit the match. Sophia clutched Daniel's hand. They weren't running anymore. 3 weeks later, the city was no longer the same. Captain Andrews had been arrested. 3 other officers across 2 precincts were under investigation. The Justice Department launched a formal probe into witness protection protocols after Maya's follow-up report went public. Daniel Knox had turned in his badge. Sophia, Isabel, was no longer just a ghost hiding behind a new name. She was a survivor who refused to be silenced. In a small hearing room behind closed doors and guarded by federal agents, she testified again. This time not to bury secrets, but to shine light on them. Afterward, Maya met them outside the courthouse. You just helped unravel the biggest corruption case this city's seen in a decade, she said, slipping Daniel an envelope. That's from a retired judge. Says you've got guts. Offered to help you get your license reinstated, if you ever want to wear the badge again. Daniel looked down at the envelope, then handed it back. I think I'm done chasing shadows. Maya turned to Sophia. And you? What now? Sophia glanced up at the sky, where sunlight cracked between clouds. I used to think justice meant hiding, she said quietly. Now I think it means standing still, owning the ground you fought for. Later that week, they returned to the cabin one last time, a place that had become a battlefield, a sanctuary, and somehow, something close to home. Daniel stood at the porch railing, watching Sophia pack the last box into the car. Where to next? He asked. She closed the trunk and smiled. Wherever, there's quiet. He walked over, hands in his pockets. You sure you want me tagging along? I'm not sure of much, she admitted, but I know I don't want to disappear again, not unless someone knows where I went. Daniel nodded, a quiet understanding between them. She added, that knock, when you showed up the first time, I thought it was the end. He gave her a crooked smile. It was the end of hiding, the start of fighting back. They both fell silent. Then she said something she hadn't said in years, not since the night everything fell apart. Thank you. Daniel looked at her. For what? For not seeing just a file. For seeing me. As they pulled away from the cabin, the world ahead opened wide. No chase, no shadows. Just a long stretch of road and the promise of something better. Not safety, not certainty, but freedom. In the rearview mirror, Sophia saw the reflection of who she used to be. Trapped, hunted, silent. That woman was gone. In her place stood someone who'd faced death, betrayal, and corruption and refused to bow, and beside her someone who'd knocked on the wrong door and found the right reason to stay. The knock that changed everything wasn't fate, it was choice. It was defiance. It was the beginning of something that could finally be called a life. And this time, they wouldn't run from it. They would build it. Together.